Once again, this is Chris Report, and he assured me that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the program. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania, waiting for Panyaza Lesufi to start his press briefing, and he is, of course, late, taking his cue, of course, from none other than Cyril Ramaphosa, the man who has no respect for anyone's time. Panyaza Lesufi, a typical apparatchik for the African National Congress, is keeping us waiting. 2 p.m. He was supposed to start 8 p.m. South Africa time, and it is not happening now. Just a second here. Somebody's giving me a political call. I'm not voting for you. Leave me alone. Right. Welcome to all the folks in the chat. Very quickly, let me get into it here. We do have some news. There's been some breaking news since I hung up the phone an hour ago. But first, let me say hello to everybody while we wait for Lesufi to show up. Val Cooper's back. Myra Page, G. Sawyer. Awkward Leon, welcome to you. Sedgefield. Hendo is back. Emil Therrett. Ernst is here. Says good evening. Sue Walsh. And then Matthew Dixon is in. Corrine Fenta, Vilma Erasmus, I already said. Paulie, the brains behind the operation. Smee again is here again. Harry, hello to you. And Indy, Keith Alderson in from Coventry. Well, here's the news that's broke since the last hour, folks. The MK party has withdrawn its case challenging the election results. Former President Jacob Zuma's political party, Umkhonto we Sizwe, has withdrawn its application against the Electoral Commission of South Africa at the Electoral Court. In its application, the party had sought a declaration from the court that the elections were not free and fair and the requested results be set aside due to serious irregularities, which they'd never proven and showed no evidence of. The party further asserted that the IEC cannot lawfully declare elections free, citing clear evidence of massive fraud, rigging, manipulation, and conduct in elections. That's what they said last month, but they've now withdrawn their case. Yep. In a surprising move that caught many off guard, the party announced that the impeached president, former Judge John Schlope, would be sworn in as the party's chief whip. He was. And so Schlope said that they elected to work and they'll make sure that they will be above petty politics. Yeah, let's see that. He said, we've been elected by the people of this country. We're here to work. We consider that as our role. We're going to engage in a robust debate, but in a respectful manner. Make no mistake, we're not going to allow ourselves to be bullied by anyone. We're adults and we know why we're here, he said at the time. Well, that's interesting. MK Party has been anything but adults, and that's how they behave. Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance says we are happy to take the official opposition. The Democratic Alliance bows out of the evil effort by the arrogant African National Congress in the Gauteng legislature. So we're going to talk about that if he ever shows up. ANC DA talks have collapsed. Well, we know that, and they should collapse. The DA should walk away from this. The Democratic Alliance represents 45% of the voting power of the provincial government of provincial unity, yet they were giving just a paucity of 30% of the seats. The ANC, which managed just, well, let's see, not even 50% of the vote. They have 55% of the coalition. They were taking for themselves 70% of the seats. So not acceptable. And the Democratic Alliance behaved like adults and walked away from this, as they should. Excuse me. Yeah. So we're waiting for the announcement. Panyaza Lesufi is now 8 minutes and 24 seconds. Has it been rescheduled? Let me see. It's been set for 2:15 now. They've reset it, so we're 8 minutes away. So, yep. Now, the DA was only asking for 4 seats, but the arrogant ANC wanted 7 for themselves. Greedy pigs at the trough. Yep. So, the ANC is negotiating in bad faith. They signed an agreement. They've reneged on it, just like at the national level. At the national level, the DA was punked, and they didn't realize they were punked, and they still try to put a brave face on the fact that they were punked and taken for a ride. However, at the provincial level, it looks like they're going to stand their ground, which is good for them. They should not tolerate this garbage and be the biatches for the arrogant African National Congress. Pizza Time says, not even surprised ANC did the old bait and switch. They can't understand how power sharing works. No wonder the pass rate's 30%. 100% with you there, Pizza Time. You are correct. Charles Van Onselen, the voice of reason, has joined us in the conversation. It's that stupid MEC. Yep. Their greed will be their end. Yes, Val Cooper, you are correct. This government will not last very long. This will last even shorter than the national government, the provincial legislature of Gauteng. I said you guys are in for a bumpy 5 years. Rainier's membership. Thank you, Rainier. And my speaker was off. I didn't see that. Is the tardiness a trick? It is. It is arrogance, race baiting, race hustling, and black supremacy are the order of the day for the African National Congress. It's what they know. It's their bread and butter. Anything that doesn't trend in that direction really goes against their core beliefs. Good evening to Jonathan. Welcome to you. Radio call in Azuma's vote of no confidence. Could have been a hoax caller, but they insisted this should not happen to Zuma. I didn't see that. Okay. Oh, that was a long time ago. Carlos Puter's here. Welcome to you. Good to see you there. Chris Marie. George Steinberg's here. I miss George Steenkamp. Our favorite prop is there. Good to see you again. All right. And Myra Page as well. Welcome to everybody. I'm not punking you. It said 6 minutes now. I thought Gauteng already fell away. No, Dylan, you can be an excuse for thinking that. You do live in the Western Cape where things tend to work a bit better than in Gauteng. But Gauteng has got problems. Let me just run through the vote totals here so that you know what the situation, what the lay of the land is here. This is the 2024 election results. The 80 seats in the provincial legislature. The African National Congress received just 34.76% of the vote, which meant they lost 15.5%. They dropped 9 seats. They're down to 28 seats. However, the Democratic Alliance also lost votes, lost percentage. They lost 0.02, so they're 27.44, but they gained 2 seats because fewer people voted. So they now have 22 seats in the legislature. The Economic Freedom Fighters didn't lose any seats, even though they lost 1.74% of the vote. They didn't lose any seats, which hardly seems fair. But that's the reality. They are 11 seats. The Umkhonto we Sizwe Party, which did not compete previously, now has 8 seats in the Gauteng legislature. Action SA did abysmally poor, just 4% of the vote. 3 seats. Freedom Front Plus lost a seat. They're at 2 seats. The Patriotic Alliance, New Kids on the Block, with 79,964 votes, got 2 seats. Rise Mzansi with a seat. And Kata Freedom Party held their own, and they have 1 seat. Bill One South Africa, 1 seat. The ACDP, 1 seat. And that's it. That's all your members. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 parties in the provincial legislature. However, there we go. We're getting ready to start this thing. So give me a second here. They've already started, so I can skip this. And we're ready. Finally, ANC shows up, tardy as usual. There we go. His microphone isn't turned on yet, obviously. As soon as it gets turned on, but it's really loud. They need to work on that. That feed is really, really loud. Can you hear that? Oof. Let me turn that down a little bit. That's loud for me. Poor microphones.
I would like us to start. We want to welcome.
Good God. Is this somebody's mobile phone?
The province of Gauteng, Honorable Panyaza Lesufi.
Good Lord, it's bad.
High Court.
There we go.
Judge Lebogang Mudiba.
Come on, SABC, get your act together.
The leaders of political parties that are
What if this is such nonsense? Just say hello to everybody. They're not special.
MECs designate that are here. The heads of department.
Oh, I could have had lunch.
Departments of the provincial government. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. We are here tonight to listen to the announcement of the Executive Council of the Gauteng Provincial Government, and it gives me therefore my singular honor,
great pleasure,
to invite Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, the Premier of the province of Gauteng.
The bogus Premier who was voted in by the DA, and now he's not even with the DA in a coalition. Bogus.
Thanks so much, DG. Director General Edward Musuwe. Let me echo your sentiments and also welcome Judge Lebogang Mudiba. Thank you so much, Judge. I know the on and off has been a problem and a challenge, but your understanding is highly, highly appreciated.
Can we just fix the audio? Good Lord.
Please extend our sincere appreciation to Judge President Mlambo as well for his understanding.
$5.
What the hell?
That's
unbelievable.
And citizens of Gauteng. We come to you this evening to fulfill the wishes and aspirations of the people of Gauteng.
With 34% of the vote.
We come to you to continue with the crucial process of the reconstitution of the 7 administration of our province and of our government of provincial unity. We accept, without any conditions, the outcome of our elections and the desires of our electorate that all political parties must work together to run our provincial government.
If only the ANC weren't so
In doing
arrogant.
so, we must be matured, we must be sober, we must understand each other at all times. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the political parties within the Gauteng legislature that have agreed to be part of government of provincial unity.
So let's see who we got.
These are uncharted waters. These are opportunities that are presented to us by our voters. We want to show our voters that we understand the mandate fully.
There's no mandate.
Understand the decisions that they've made, regardless of the complications that this may create. We are at no particular stage questioning their desires or questioning the outcome of these elections. Ever since the election results were released, we've been crisscrossing various floors and political parties' offices to develop an outcome that will be sufficient and enough.
Just
One
get to
government.
it. God, these people love to hear their own voice.
The political party that I have the honor to lead and to represent, the African National Congress, have literally met with all the political parties that are represented in the legislature. We want to thank all the leaders of these particular parties for their unwavering support for government of provincial unity. We commit ourselves as the African National Congress to work with each and every party and to fulfill the desires of the people of our province. What is important in everything that we're going to do now is openness, transparency, compromise, and communication.
Alien
So
language
that
to the
these
ANC.
become the hallmark of our administration.
The Walmart of your administration.
As earlier indicated, these are uncharted waters.
Yeah, you're a
There
loser.
will be missteps, there will be misunderstanding, and there will be issues that will bring us together.
And it will collapse your government.
But must also accept there will be issues that will divide us. I always argue, and I want to maintain that argument, that in the boxing match,
Oh, gosh.
it's better to box inside the boxing ring because there are rules and regulations, rather than to box outside the boxing ring where there are no rules and regulations.
Street fight.
With this government of provincial unity, we've accepted to work within the boxing ring so that we can deal with the laws and regulations that manage this form of relationship in a better way. I present to you the parties that have agreed to be part
Here
of
we
this
go.
relationship. We have been guided by government of national unity principles, and we've been further guided by those that have signed this agreement so that we can be part, or so that
Oh
they
my
can be
God.
part
Just
of the
tell
government
us.
of provincial unity. We want to thank the Democratic Alliance for presenting to us their deputy speaker. We want to thank the IFP, who will be mentioned in the Executive Council, RISE, Mzansi, as well as the Patriotic Alliance. We further work together with other political parties that have accepted to be part of government of provincial unity, but chose to use the Gauteng provincial legislature as their terrain of operation. As I said, when I delivered my acceptance speech at the legislature, we've been asked to work together. To work together, we will do. We've been asked to combine our thoughts for a better Gauteng, to combine our thoughts, we will do.
Just tell us.
We've been asked to leave no one behind. Today, we all declare that no one will be left behind unless they choose not to be part of the government of provincial unity. I want to emphasize this. There is no door that is closed. This door will be permanently opened, and those that want to join government of provincial unity will be free.
You better have 50%, buddy, or this is going to
But it was
collapse.
Tony Joyce who said, and I quote,
Oh, God.
broken eggs make the best omelette.
And morons make
but
the
you
worst
can't
provincial
build
legislature.
society
Oh, God.
with broken men and women, end quote. So our task from today is to build a better Gauteng.
People don't say end quote.
Our task from now is to make Gauteng attractive. Attractive for
Get rid
all
of the
families,
ANC.
attractive for all forms of investments, attractive for workers, attractive for the youth and students,
This guy works in the shoe store with
attractive
Al
for
Bundy.
sporting and cultural events, attractive and safe for our women and children.
Nope, it's not
Our
that.
mandate is simple.
You have no
Crime,
mandate.
corruption, and lawlessness must be crushed mercilessly.
Or you
Our
facilitate.
mandate is simple. Municipalities must play their part so that we can support them. Our mandate is simple. We must revitalize our CBDs, in particular Johannesburg, our townships, in particular Alexander, our hostels, in particular Stucha hostels, our informal settlement, in particular Makau's informal settlement in Germiston. We are ready to make this institution better again.
Better again.
We also extend our appreciation to the members of the Executive Council, the DG, and heads of departments who provided the leadership needed in the sixth administration. I want to personally thank all the MECs that were part of the sixth administration. I had a difficult task and a difficult mandate to leave others not out of choice, but out of the political circumstances that we find ourselves in.
And you failed miserably.
As we transition to the seventh administration, we welcome our new Speaker, Madam Morakani Musubse, and the Deputy Speaker, Madam Refilwe Ntsege, and they fully enjoy our support to lead our legislature.
Until you have voted no confidence against
Today,
them.
we bring to you the new leadership and members of the Executive Council, assigned to steer the ship towards a better Gauteng. The team will from this week start their work consolidating the election manifestos of our different parties so that we can develop a shared vision for Gauteng, a shared vision of prosperity, a shared vision of service delivery, a shared vision to eliminate crime, corruption, and lawlessness.
You mean the
I
ANC?
have the honor to present the following men and women
You're going to dismiss the ANC?
part of the Executive Council
Lawlessness, crime?
of the 7th Administration in Gauteng. The modernization of government and the need to embrace innovation and technology will be the hallmark of this administration. It is within this context that we've assigned MEC Bonginkosi Dlamini from the IFP to lead this modernization through the Department of eGov. To steer the finances of our province and to accelerate economic growth of our province, we are appointing MEC Lebogang Maile to lead our treasury as well as the Department of Economic Development. Our skills development program and the desire to educate our children will be led by MEC Matume Chilwan. We are also adding a new responsibility to this portfolio of education by adding the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture, and Recreation. Our e-health program to modernize our health facilities and promote good
Tembisa.
living lifestyles, and to ensure that our hospitals meet the standard, if not better standards.
Like
of
Charlotte
hospitals,
McKexa?
and to use technology and innovation not only to improve our hospitals, clinics, and our medical facilities, but to ensure that our hospitals are ready for the implementation of NHI. We want to be the first province to move with speed in the implementation of NHI.
NHI is
and I'm
illegal.
proud to announce MEC Nomantu Nkomoralo-Huku as the head of this department. Our roads and transport portfolio will be led by MEC Gidiboni Diale-Tlabela, who is assigned the major task to accelerate the speed train between Limpopo and Gauteng. She's also assigned the task of modernizing our roads and launching our infrastructure development program in our province using the necessary transport modes to connect strategic areas of our province.
Oh, dear God.
We are of the view that an area like Rustenburg might be in northwest, but is growing towards Gauteng, and you must connect the transport mode.
No, it's not.
We are further convinced an area like Sosselbeck
Have you been?
that might be
Have
in
you
the
been to
Free State,
Rustenburg?
but it might grow towards Gauteng. We are also
Sosselberg is not growing
interested
towards
to
Gauteng.
harness the economic potential of Harrismith, which is 3-hour to KZN.
He doesn't even know where Harrismith
Free
is.
State, Bloemfontein, and 3 hours to Gauteng. Take into consideration the new e-commerce and cargo business. We have the strong view that Harrismith is a strategic area that must be linked with Gauteng.
Have you been to Harrismith?
All forms of transport.
It's dead.
And that is why this task is assigned to MEC Gidiboni.
The best thing about Harrismith is the petrol station on the
We want
motorway.
to improve our townships. We want to improve our informal settlements. We further want to improve our hostels.
We want to improve
But
our
we can't
governance.
leave our central business district so dirty and so bad.
Deep Sloot.
It always pains us that Johannesburg CBD is no longer the Johannesburg CBD that we want.
No, because it's not being run by the National Party.
Partnership with the Johannesburg municipality and other municipalities that have strategic CBDs in their areas. Our CBDs can't survive through cash loans and cell phone repairs. We want these CBDs to be vibrant again and to be repositioned to be the centers of our economic activities
Too late.
and to present job opportunities to our people
Urban
and
wasteland.
ensure that they represent who we are as South Africans. And this mandate is given to MEC Tasnim Motara as the new head of human settlement in our province. Our agenda to protect the weak, the poor, and vulnerable members of our society will now be led from the office of the Premier. The fight against crime is going to the center of this government.
Yeah, the
We are
Panyazis.
migrating this responsibility to the office of the Premier so that we can lead and champion the fight against crime, corruption, and lawlessness.
Oh, now you care about
We
it.
can't surrender our province to criminals.
You already have, a long time
We can't
ago.
be scared of our own shadows
You are.
and convert our own houses to be prisons
That's what they
because
become.
criminals are doing as they wish.
Yes, that's exactly what happens.
We strongly believe the utilization of creative ways of technology, innovation, and the increase of personnel to fight crime in our province must be a priority. If there is one priority for the 7th administration and the government of Gauteng in the next 5 years, it's our relentless efforts to confront and fight crime head on. And that's why this responsibility has been brought to the office of the Premier. There's an urgent need for food security and fighting urban hunger and the establishment of a state farm so that we can be in a position to consolidate the work that we're doing in this sector.
Establish a
It
state
gives me
farm.
great pleasure to invite Ms. Vuyiswa Ramogopa from Rise Mzansi to join the 7th administration as the MEC responsible for agriculture and rural development. There's an urgent need for us to improve our infrastructure, and there's also an urgent need for us to coordinate the work that we're doing with local government. Our view is very simple. If we can't get the necessary systems within local government, the infrastructure development and the new infrastructures that we want to introduce in our province will be meaningless. There will be delays in local government. There will further be delays at strategic areas where we need to introduce new infrastructure. So the MEC that will be responsible for infrastructure development and COCTA will be MEC Jacob Mamabolo, so that this task can be attended to and be concluded. We also feel that there is an urgent need for us to protect the weak, the poor, and the vulnerable. That our relationship with non-government organizations is a very important relationship that unfortunately there were serious missteps. We need to rectify this. Our NGOs are doing work on behalf of government and they must be treated with respect. They are not doing us a favor. We also need to duplicate the work that they do and ensure that we run a seamless institution that does not give them headaches and troubles. It's within this context that I want to wholeheartedly apologize to this sector for the pain and the misery that they're going through. I've taken a decision to appoint MEC Faith Mazibugo to be the MEC that will be responsible for social development so that she can repair this relationship and provide shelter to the homeless and also provide support to those that are poor and vulnerable in our society. With the pending environmental challenges in unlocking economic opportunities and the reality of climate change, we felt that the Department of Environment must be a standalone department so that we can clean Gauteng. Our province is dirty.
Yeah, because you got pigs living there.
Our cities are dirty.
Because pigs live there.
And this can't be left on an ad hoc basis. Where municipalities are failing to clean our communities, we want to take that responsibility as provincial government.
No, that's responsibility of
Clean our
citizens.
cities
They should stop being pigs.
It's within this context that we have appointed MEC Sheila Mary Peters from the Patriotic Alliance to lead this important task of establishing this new department. We are quite convinced we will be in a position to build a better Gauteng, we will be in a position to be proud of a new Gauteng, a Gauteng that will fight crime, a Gauteng that will fight corruption, and a Gauteng that will fight lawlessness. We are here to serve.
Yeah,
and
right.
We're here to ensure that Gauteng is competitive. To these new leaders, I want to wholeheartedly welcome you and congratulate you on your new responsibilities. Thank you so much.
So they gave the 3 positions that the DA they offered to minor parties that don't even have 3% of the vote. Well, have 3% of the
Thank you
vote.
very much, Premier, for the announcements as we congratulate our MECs designate. Now we will be turning over
This is a minority government.
to Judge Mudiba to administer an oath of office to our MECs designate. I'm going to request the team to please be close and as we get the list. Just for housekeeping, MECs designate. There's a chair next to Judge Mudiba. So when your name is called, I would respectfully request that you get and be seated or standing, however the judge may prescribe, next to the judge, facing the audience, and the judge will be able to give more direction going forward. Justice Mudiba.
So they've announced a government with 38.64% of the vote in the province, a minority government of epically low proportions, a government comprised of the ANC, the Inkatha Freedom Party, Rise Mzansi, and the Patriotic Alliance. Shame on the IFP for joining this Hades cabal of corruptness. So the ANC, with 34% of the vote in the province, is going to control this province. This will not last long. Their insult to the MK party and to the EFF, along with the treatment of the DA, is going to lead to votes of no confidence before you can watch the ink dry on this document.
At this point in time, call on Mr. Bonginkosi Dlamini
I'm also disappointed in the
to
IFP.
please take the podium.
This party, this will not last, folks. 38.64% of the vote is what is represented up here by these clowns. And it is a coalition of just 4 parties. ANC, IFP, PA, and Rise Mzansi. This is unbelievably corrupt. This is a minority government, and it will not last. All that has to happen is for MK or EFF to align with the DA to offset this. The DA is 27%, and the EFF, what's EFF have? Let's go look at that very quickly. EFF has what, 10%? 13%. So the two of them
The
together have
microphones
more.
Can also be pressed.
They have more than either. So the DA and the EFF will have 33.
Bonginkosi Wesley Dlamini, MPL. Are you familiar with the oath of office?
Oh, God, we're not going to see the oaths, are we?
This pan is proven to perform.
Unbelievable. It's SABC, desperate for ads.
Say these words after me. I, Bonginkosi Wesley Dlamini, MPL,
I, Bonginkosi Wesley Dlamini, MPL,
swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa
swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa
and will obey, respect and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic,
respect and uphold the Constitution and all the law of the Republic,
and I undertake to hold my office as member of the Executive Council of the Province of Gauteng with honor and dignity,
and I undertake to honor my office as a member of the Executive Council of the Province of Gauteng with honor and dignity, to be true and faithful.
All right, I can take that off for a moment. We'll wait and see what else. Yeah, the oath does mean fuck all to these clowns. So let's just recap what's happened here. The African National Congress has formed an alliance, a coalition fraudulently called a government of provincial unity. However, of the 12 parties involved in the province who have a seat in the provincial legislature, only 4 are part of it. Those 4 are the ANC, Rise Mzansi, the IFP, and the Patriotic Alliance. Now, the 4 of them together have a grand total of 38.64% of the provincial legislature, for total votes of 28, 29, 30, 32 seats. 32 seats out of 80. And with 32 seats out of 80, they are now claiming that they run the damn thing. Unbelievable. Now, we just dropped 30 people watching this program just because because I stopped showing that. Wow, let me put it back up and see what happens. Wow, 30 people just disappeared. I guess they wanted to hear that. So you could have said you want to hear it instead of disappearing. I would have left it up there. But yeah, so wow, unbelievable. So he's sworn in. Now we'll go through this 10 times. So the arrogant ANC, with just 34% of the vote in Gauteng, is now dictating. Folks, this government won't last. All it takes is the DA and EFF to team up, and they can stop them. That's all it takes. Francois says, no, don't put it back. Yes, the PA will get into bed with anyone as long as they get positions. That's correct. That is correct. Yep, means nada. Shame to our province of Lesufi is taking us for a ride. He's been taking you for a ride all along. All along he's been taking people for a ride. Yeah, so again, can you believe this? 4 parties. This is the, people said that Gate McKenzie as sports minister is a joke, Angie Motseka as the defense minister is a joke. This is the biggest joke yet pulled on South Africans right here. Gauteng, the ANC with a minority position control this province, and shame on the people who voted for them. So what will happen next? Hey, Bezuidenhout, what will happen next? Well, this government will not last the first time they try to vote for something. And quite frankly, the whole thing can be thrown in disarray tomorrow because the DA voted for Panyaza Lesufi. All it takes is for the EFF to table a motion of no confidence, and it will be easy to unseat him. The ANC does not have the votes with this coalition to stop him from being unseated. They just have 32 votes. All it would take is 33 votes. And oh, by the way, it has 33 votes between the DA and the EFF. Those two together have 33 votes, which is the total votes the ANC has in this coalition. Then all it takes is for Action SA with its 3 votes to join, and we have a vote of no confidence, and Panyaza Lesufi is out with a vote of 36 to 33. That's all it'll take out of 80. 33 votes will have him removed. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. Al Jamaa, thankfully, is not in this legislature. So the ACDP is there, and the Freedom Front Plus are there. That's 3. Action SA, that's 7 votes. And then, of course, that leaves Umkhonto we Sizwe out there with their 8 votes. But those 7 votes I just mentioned will never go to the ANC. The only possibility for the ANC is they can pick up 8 votes from Umkhonto we Sizwe. So with 32 seats, they could pick up 8 from Umkhonto we Sizwe, gives them 40. And then they could potentially keep him in office. It would be a 40-40 deadlock if all votes went against him. But as it is, they don't have a majority. It's absolutely insane. DA deserves for voting the rubbish thieves in. Yeah, they voted him in. All I see is criminals faking the claim, take the oath. Well, that's what, I think you're right about that. Lesufi is going to run the province into the ground the same way he ran the education department to the ground. Well, he already ran the province to the ground previously. Look at how happy these cackling hyenas are. They're so happy. Look, we pulled it off. We can loot for 5 more years, and we're all happy about it. And now we got other people we can blame for the failures from Rise, Mzansi, PA, and IFP. Yep.
MEC designate Matume Chilwane.
Wow.
Please come forward.
This is unbelievable, folks. It was a great move for the DA. Do you think they want to be part of this satanic cabal of criminals? Wow. No, this is a government that won't last.
Mr. Chilwane, are you familiar with the prescribed oath?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No, not at all.
Please say these words after me. I, Madume Kopano Chilwane MP.
Wow, that guy's name is a mouthful. Shadow Seer says, sorry for the interruptions, but DeSantis attacked Donald Trump is crazy. When did Ron DeSantis attack Donald Trump? Trump's name is all over Epstein documents. He's a public figure. Impeach DeSantis. Well, I'm not sure how the process works in the state of Florida. He's a governor there. I can tell you how it works in Pennsylvania and Maryland, but not there. Where is Zilla now? She is to blame. Why is Helen Zilla to blame for? Well, hold the train here, Ferdosh Diakis. Why is Helen Zilla to blame for this garbage? You all, if you live in Gauteng, are to blame for this garbage. You could have given the DA 35%. You gave him 27%. You all are to blame. The DA with 35% could have been the arrogant party and pulled this crap that the ANC has pulled here. What does Helen Zilla have to do with this? So do you think it was a good idea for Helen Zilla to let her party be punked again and be given useless portfolios in a provincial legislature with the DA getting 30% despite having 45% of the voting power in that? Do you really think that was a good idea? Is unseating impossible? Oh, lucky Malungu, it's very possible. It just takes a vote of no confidence. It happens all the time, South African politics. We saw it in Nelson Mandela Bay. We've seen it in Johannesburg, in Tshwane. We've seen it multiple times. Johannesburg was the city of gold, Zelda. It was the most expensive square mile of real estate in Africa, and it is a crap hole now, 30 years later. Ferdosh says, we gave them what they needed. I voted for them. Well, you voted for them, but they didn't give enough. 27% is not enough. 27% is not enough. Well, the only option for the DA, ladies and gentlemen, here would have been, and I'll just go through it with you, and they don't have enough votes. I've already done the math. The DA, 22, okay? DA, 22. They could have gone Action SA for 3. That's 25. Okay, Action SA, Freedom Front Plus for 2. That's 27. Okay. They could have asked the Patriotic Alliance. Let's see if they went. That's 29, because the Patriotic Alliance go with anybody, gives them a seat. That's 29. Rise of Mzansi would have been 30. Okay. Then the IFP would have been 31. Okay. Then Build One South Africa is 32. And then ACDP is 33. And so the best the ANC could have done by not taking the ANC, but the best the DA could have done if they managed to bring everybody together, minus the ANC, the EFF, and MK, minus those three, the best they could have done was 33 seats. Not enough. Now, that could have worked if the DA had never entered an agreement to vote for Panyaza Lesufi and make him the premier. If that had been the case, then they could have done it. But the ANC, in desperation, could easily have teamed up with the economic freedom fighters to give them more than enough votes. That would have given them 39. 39. Yep, and they could have bribed one of the parties. So what is the DA supposed to do? What exactly are they supposed to do here? Let's see what she's got to say.
Any secret matter entrusted to me.
Not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me.
And to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability.
And to perform.
Yeah, see, here's the problem. I'm going to throw water all of that, Jonathan. He says we can't give the DA more percentage with the minority. The majority don't want change. That's simply not true. Over a third of the voters for the DA, the majority of their, not majority, but plurality of their voters were black South Africans. So your job, if you're the DA, is to expand the number of black South Africans who are already your largest voting bloc to make it larger. So it's pretty simple. But the DA is an abysmal public relations organization. DA is going to be done with the next local elections. If IFF actually can smart, they should band together and take Gauteng. They don't have the resources to take it, Richard. I just gave you, it's a handful of seats. Action SA underperformed. Exactly. Action SA's 4% performance in their stronghold of Gauteng is terrible. They should have gotten 10% in Gauteng. Had they got 10%, they'd have 8 seats instead of 3 or 4. That would have been a big difference. 3 seats. That's a huge difference there. Gauteng is very much in a pickle, Shadow Seer. Smee says, my voting station was a total screw up. Yep. No. So should DA do a deal with EFF and form a government? You know what, Theodorus? I look, I mean, the EFF is not trustworthy, but let this thing collapse on its own. Let this thing collapse on its own. The problem with the DA doing an agreement with the EFF now is that if they do that, who's going to vote for their candidate? And who will the candidate come from? The DA? Well, the EFF would have to agree to a DA candidate. They would have to vote together, and then they're going to need help from other parties. Yep. It is unlikely, Shadow C. You're correct. John says, I agree, but majority live in townships with no access to the internet and give them enough info. They have promises. Well, then why aren't DA party people in the townships? Why aren't DA party people recruiting people instead of people here who clearly spend way too much time at the buffet line? Wow. I heard that black people in South Africa are starving to death. Well, not if they're members of the ANC.
Of the Republic.
And I undertake to hold my office as member of the Executive Council of the province of Gauteng with...
Yeah, I know, Smee, again, it was terrible in some places. I don't know where you vote at, but I saw it.
I undertake to hold my office as a member of the Executive Council of the province of Gauteng with honor.
The problem with all of this is it elevates people who have the brain capacity of a 6-year-old to be in positions of influence and power, and they begin to think that they're actually something that matters in life when they've accomplished nothing except being put on a list by someone because they're loyal. Yeah. How long do you think this 3 months, Sander, Zanu Labaskakni, I think that's generous. I don't think this thing survives very long. The EFF is going to have a vote of no confidence against Panyaza Lesufi very soon. Panyaza Lesufi will have a vote of no confidence. And it will be interesting to see what the MK party does with its 8 seats. Well, good evening, Ronaldo. Welcome to the program. The DA did the right thing for once here. They walked away from this satanic coalition comprised of 4 parties, ANC, Inkatha Freedom Party, Patriotic Alliance, and Rise Mzansi. And the 3 seats that the greedy, arrogant African National Congress was holding on to, they gave to 3 minor parties. Yep. It's terrible what their views are in townships. Talked to a lot of them. They all remain behind ANC no matter what. They're feeling threatened. Well, Jonathan, there's some truth to what you're saying, but I too have been in townships, and that's not been my experience. I've been in townships in Soshanguve, in Pretoria. I've been in townships in Alexandria and Johannesburg. I've been in townships in Khayelitsha, in Mitchell's Plains. I've been to those places. And it's not the sense I get from people. But yes, you're right. There's a fear that plays a role here. Yep. Look at Cuba. 65 years later. Yep. A pension of $8 a month. Oh, this is the one who likes to bleach your hair. Cultural appropriation. She was in the press conference being an arrogant SOB yesterday. The IFP got...
Are you familiar with the affirmation of office?
Yes,
Are
I
you
am.
familiar?
Do you have any objection to taking that?
Or reservations?
No, I do not.
Please say these words after me.
After me.
I, Tasneem Mutara, MPL,
I, Tasneem Mutara, MPL,
solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa
solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa
and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic.
and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of
I
the
have-
Republic.
And I
IFP got e-government. ANC got finance. ANC got education and sports. The two don't go together. Rise Mzansi got agriculture and rural development. ANC health. ANC infrastructure. ANC roads. ANC human settlement. ANC social development. And environment went to the PA. Now, for some strange reason, Panyaza Lesufi apologized to non-government organizations, saying that they work on behalf of the government. No, they don't. They work on behalf of the citizens, not on behalf of the government. Why do these people think the government is the answer to everything? It is not. Now, Carol Patton has written in the News 24 what I've already said. She said this. She said, Lesufi has formed the only minority government. He is counting on the DA's 22 seats not being able to find common ground with the EFF's 11 seats and the MK 8 seats. Those three parties together have 41, which is a majority. And he hopes to bring the EFF in later. Well, I wouldn't hold my breath. The EFF is going to come in later. You're going to have to give them some spoils. The EFF is all about the Kwan, all about the shiny stuff. EFF is all about what it means for them. So they're all being sworn in here. And here's the latest one being sworn in. Yep. Now look at that big smile on her face. Don't get too excited, sweetheart. That ain't going to last long.
Province of Gauteng, Honorable Mutara.
Honorable Mutara. It's not going to last long there, sweetheart.
May I, at this point in time, request MEC designate Mr. Jacob Mamabolo to please come forward.
Infrastructure and COCTA, Cooperative Governance. Jacob Mamabolo. Wow.
Mr. Mamabolo, are you familiar with the affirmation of office?
Yes.
Do you have
I like how she asked that. Are you familiar? It almost reminds me of Joe Biden. Joe, you answered all the questions. Here, Joe, here's a treat. You're such a good boy. Yep, Jacob Mamabolo. Watch out for Canada's Supreme Leader Justin Trudeau. That's good, Keith. Justin Trudeau. Carl Nyhorse is in the national legislature. He's not in the provincial legislature. He's a member of the Economic Freedom Fighters in Parliament. Carl Nyhorse. Yep. Actually uphold their oaths. None of the crap in the past 30 years would exist. Exactly. Yeah, that's right, Theodorus. He did defund the NGOs, and that's why homelessness has skyrocketed. Yep. Yep. The government farm. Yeah, what was that about? Going to have a government farm? Gauteng is going to have a farm for food security? Wow. Hey, this fellow is also on a starvation diet. Notice his exposed rib cage and just how much he's going without food there. What a poor fellow there. What should the DA have done differently? Well, number one, who beyond John Steenhuisen and Saleh Samang was campaigning in Gauteng? Quick, I ask you. Somebody tell me the names of DA politicians, successful DA politicians who were in Gauteng campaigning during this. And tell me when they began their campaigning. Number one, I'll tell you the fact that they didn't begin their campaigning in 2023 was an epic failure. Number two, I'll tell you that the DA not having anyone beyond Saleh Samang and John Steenhuisen campaigning was an epic failure too. Francois van der Westhuizen says, good evening. Old Mac Rama had a farm. Pop goes a long way on their salaries. I guess so. He says, improve townships. Why not make a plan to remove townships and get people out of poverty? Exactly, Cameron Nichols. Instead of improving townships, your goal should be to eliminate townships. Exactly.
May I at this stage please request MEC designate Ms. Sheila Mary Peters to please come forward.
Peters. And Miss Sheila Mary Peters, he said Sheila Mari, it's Mary Peters. She is environment, she's from the Patriotic Alliance.
Ms. Peters, are you familiar with the prescribed oath?
I
Do you have
am.
any objection
Color
to
folks are
it?
smart.
Please say these words after me. I, Sheila Mary Peters, MPL,
I, Sheila Mary Peters, MPL,
Shyla.
swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa
swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa
and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic,
and will obey, respect, and uphold Constitution and all other law of the Republic.
and I undertake.
Well, that hat's better than the Cat in the Hat's hat, that's for sure. So there were a couple things here. Shadow Seer says, I think the Supreme Court went too far. The Dems have another cause to rally behind. I disagree. The Supreme Court had no choice. The endless efforts to undermine the former president by prosecuting him for his official acts had to be cleared out spelled out clearly because these morons cannot understand things. No, it's not a cause. Nobody's buying that, Shadow Seer. Nobody's buying that. Only the media. And that's the problem. People read the media and they think that's what's going on. People watch social media and they think that's what's going on. I mean, when I came back to America and I had African students come here, senior lieutenant colonels, and brigadier generals come to the course, they were hesitant because they were worried they're going to be murdered in the streets by white people because America has a race war going. What a crock of horse manure. There's no race war here. And nobody's threatened by their race. It's total nonsense. Don't fall for the press. If you read the press, then it'll tell you that basically that the Supreme Court overstepped the bounds. They give it unfettered power to presidents. They've undermined the country. That's total horse manure. This is not going to happen. And people in the street aren't that stupid. There are a lot of dumb people who vote in America, but they're not that stupid. No, the Supreme Court did not overstep. They did what was necessary because the lower courts and the demon rats have overstepped and violated the rule and abandoned the rule of law. Rudy Holtzhausen says, what infrastructure? We got some road in our potholes. Exactly. Chris, we fail at quizzes. Give us the answer. Oh my goodness. I thought I answered it already. Here in Eckerlini, I have a DA counselor that just flat out ignores our message, so he definitely isn't good advertising. Yeah, there you go. That's a problem. So meanwhile, here we go to another one of these people that's challenged by starvation. She's really suffering immensely from the food shortages and the global food crisis as a consequence of climate change. So
Say these words after me. I, Nontlantla Faith Mazibuko, MPL.
I, Nontlantla Faith Mazibuko.
I like her accent. I, Faith Nontlanda Mazibuko. Where's she at? Where's she? Oh, Faith Mazibuko. She's got social development, another ANC cater. Yeah. No, you're right, Awkward Leon. That's exactly the problem with the DA. So you've got a ward counselor who is brilliant, who's out dealing. Look, I've been there. I've ridden around with the man. I've heard his phone ring incessantly. I've watched him stop everything he was doing to take care of whiny little shithead constituents because he felt it was his job to serve his constituents' needs. And who am I talking about? None other than Ronaldo Jos, whom I doubt is still here in the chat. But Ronaldo does that. And so that's someone who sends a good message out for the DA. But the DA is full of people who are paycheck collectors. They're there for their paycheck, and that's it. And that's one of their problems. But their inability to do social media, their inability to do advertising, they are just so inept. It's unbelievable. Again, I go back to the municipal elections of 2021. The DA had Early B singing a brilliant song that was very biting and to the point. My people are tired of excuses. Early B, what a great song. And a cornucopia of the different ethnicities of South Africa represented by the DA, but they just shelved that thing. That video got more views on my channel than it did on the DA's channel. Yep. All right, what else? ANC bought a majority stake in Karen Beef. Okay. They're rotten to the core. Now they're going to steal us. And Gary Wild says it's a circus. Excuse me. Where did Gary Wild go? Where did they steal those funny chairs from? I don't know. I think Lesufi needs a geography lesson. How do you drag Harris Smith out? Well, it's Abel. I think what he was trying to do is talk about how, look, oh boy, she's so happy. Look at that. Oh yeah, we pulled it off. Nobody voted for us and we're in charge. Look at that. Oh, check it out, man. Look at her. She's so happy. Look, we didn't get any votes and we're still running this shithole. Oh yeah. Look at it, man. Look at, nobody voted for us and we're in charge. Oh my goodness. More KFC. More KFC. Oh my God. Okay, contributor says Siviwe Garuba was, really? Was she? I was unaware of that. Okay, well, all right, then I stand corrected. Yep. She stole Lady Gaga's hat. Thank you for that, contributor. I did not know she was campaigning there. Indy says, Chris, I think the solution is obvious. Leave the U.S., buy a house in Somerset West, become a DA campaign planner and strategist. Problem solved for all of us because these oaks need help. They do. They do need help. Zana says, what does e-government... I have no idea what e-government does other than screw up the service. Can't bear these stooges sign these documents. Suppose writing is a skill. I don't know which positions, but let me guess. Looking at this, I'm going to guess the DA probably wanted finance, agriculture, infrastructure, and roads and transport. I'll bet you that's the 4 they wanted. But we don't know because it hasn't been released. But I'll bet that's the 4 portfolios they probably wanted. Just saying. So that would be my thought. So, yep, there we go. So, PA seemed to suck the ANC butt the whole time in order to get power. Yep. Looks like our donations and taxes going to good use, says Jonathan. Let's see. What else have I missed here? Hey, Jillian Smith, poor malnourished politicians. Yep. Firdash says Ronaldo got sold out by his party. I don't know that he's been sold out. He might get sold out. But look, folks, you got to be honest here. Let's just be quite frank here. Ronaldo didn't do anything wrong. That's not the point. But the truth doesn't matter. The DA had no option but to suspend him from activity in Parliament pending investigation. They had to do that. Otherwise, that would have been the story, and the DA would not have been able to move forward. Just because that's the way things work. And then they should do a thorough investigation, and they should find him exonerated. PK, I don't believe government save you ever. I've been telling people about the dangers of government. Government's for government. They're putting air tags on wigs to stop human trafficking. Good God. Second on Eckerlini, DA Ignoramus Uranus. Okay, Rudy, so you know who that is too. Celebrating their paychecks. That's what they're celebrating. This is the reality. The government won't save you. Okay, here's Panyaza Lesufi again.
By thanking Josh Mudiba. You know the Mudiba surname with me from Tembisa. It's so special.
Tembisa.
But made it more special by bringing your family as well here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we don't need to hear him. Yep. What else? More individuals helping the country on their own dime than the government. That's true. E-government will get discount on Vodacom contracts. Lucky says, Colonel, what happens with those that are sworn in if the premier gets unseated? It's up to a new premier that's elected to form a new cabinet. Yep. Why are they all bald? That's a good question. Oxygen thieves. There you go. Spare me this corrupt idiot, says Indy. That is the party protocol, suspension pending hearing. Yeah, there's no choice, Charles. That's exactly right. Because they follow a rule of law. Also, sorry to say this, but Ronaldo should have known better to say something that could be used against him. Again, PK, look, let's just, okay, this is 16 years ago in a completely different environment. At the time he did it, even shortly after that, he felt it was inappropriate, so he removed the video. And he's been set up. It's pretty simple. The video was altered, and it was bad judgment, but, PK, he was also a young man, so come on. Look, it doesn't excuse things, but people have to be objective here. I'm objective here. Look, the commentary was offensive, but it wasn't directed at people. It was meant in an educational sense, and it was to make a political point. And from that standpoint, it was perfectly legal and legitimate. But I get the South African context. But you know what? The same words are said by people in South Africa every day of all skin tones, and it isn't something that comes back to haunt them because they're not in politics. Your point. I get your point, but they're all bald because Pantene refused to sponsor. They're all having Tresemme moments. Tresemme. Oh my gosh, I play the Duprier Van Heerden song Tresemme, but Duprier passed away, so that's in bad taste at the moment, I think. Yeah, it's social media being social media. Yep. But it's also not just social media, it's also other stuff taking place. We've got the South African Captured Human Rights Commission, which is filing a lawsuit against him, which, if the court's not captured, will turn out to be nothing to it. It's a nothing burger because who runs a Wayback Machine? Bet they can be sued. I doubt they can be sued, Shadow Seer. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The Wayback Machine is an archive. It's been going on for 30-some years. There you go. That's the end of that nonsense. So there you go. Finally, it ends, and there you go. So we're done with Panyaza Lesufi. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the shortest government in South Africa. It will not last for very long, I guarantee you that. The ANC has formed a minority government. Now, people are asking me all along, what happens with the ANC at the national level, given that they've only got 40.2% of the electorate? I said, well, they can form a minority government without any parties. The other parties have to gang up on them, or they have to convince 10% of the parliament to vote for their candidate to be president, and then they're in. But they chose not to do that, and they wound up with 71% of the government. And now at the provincial level, they have 38.64%. Yep. Indy says it was a long time ago. He probably never even thought at that time he would ever go into politics. We all grow up, change, and life takes different directions. An unfortunate mistake. That's probably the best explaining. Look, if he's in America, I wouldn't say it was a mistake. I'd just say it's in bad taste. But in South Africa, it is a mistake because people don't live under the same rules. I know it was to make a point, but even back then, you could not say those things without getting gutted. Well, he did. And he got away with it at the time. Dietrich says, trying to climb. Hey, Dietrich, what's up, man? Political ladder will always expose long forgotten skeletons. That's true, Dietrich. That's true. Yep. So what about the crap-eating EFF calling killer? Well, I see stuff. Well, exactly. What about Andile Mexican, whatever his name is there, the Black Land First guy? He's still in Parliament. Carl Nyhorst is in Parliament, although he hasn't called people names. He's just a clown. Yep. No, it won't outlast the cabbage. I think you're right. Debbie says, ask yourself what you were doing 15 years ago, not in design of thought for politics, just trying to work and earn a living. Forgive them for what they know, not what they do. Black like me, hair extensions on the rise. Yeah, okay, so 15 years ago would have been, so 10 years ago is 2009. In 2009, I was living in Botswana, and I was the chief of the Office of Security Cooperation and the U.S. AFRICOM liaison to the Southern African Development Community. That's where I was in 2009. That's what I was doing 15 years ago. Context matters. The EFF can sing, and nothing happens. Our leader can assault the guard and be acquitted, but Ronaldo gets crucified. Well, not just that. He can also fire live ammunition to the air, endangering public safety, and then commit crimes by altering the firearm, by removing the firing mechanism to try to mislead the police. That's perversion of justice there. Yep. So, no, and look, it's a twisted world. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality. So, anyway. Yep. What amazes me is that the ANC at 40% but holds 60%. Well, that's exactly what I said, David Groenewald. I said that from the outset. I've done that my analysis. I said they're arrogant beyond belief. They have 56%. They have 40% of the government, but they have 56% of the coalition that's running the country, and they took 62% of the seats. Unbelievable. The DA with 30% of the government. Of the 71%, they have 30% of that government, and they got just 19% of the parliament. And the ANC kept them out of every important portfolio. Nothing in the security cluster, and all the key economic posts remain under the ANC. This is a horrible outcome for South Africa. It's a shame. Our government is making me feel like the Rugby World Cup, stressing that those 1-point leads. Val was already complaining about load shedding. Well, in 2009, I was also complaining about load shedding because I lived in Botswana and we paid the bills, and Eskom cut the power to Botswana because they didn't have enough power because the platinum industry was hotting up and sucking up all the juice to Northwest. And so they cut our electricity. So we had to buy generators. I had to spend $50,000 US. Yep. 190,000 times 5. So almost R1 million buying generators because of Eskom back in 2008, 2009. 15 years ago, I was young and still a bit of a liberal idiot. Thank goodness I grew up. Well, thank goodness you did. I'm sure everybody is apartheid on his side, so being white is an automatic prison sentence in this country. It's just a sad reality of time. Well, it's not going to get him in prison. He didn't commit a crime against anybody. So anyway, The DA allow themselves to be screwed. It's like watching Ashton Kutcher punking someone. They were punked. And John Steenhuisen put a brave face on this and claim that now they're not in the clusters. What role do they play in the security cluster? A deputy minister? That doesn't mean jack squat. What role do they play in the economic cluster? Nothing. So they have agriculture. Meanwhile, the Pan-African Congress has land reform. Has anybody... I've got to write this article. I mean, unfortunately, I got radio tonight, but I've got to write this article because no one else has addressed this, and I keep saying this. Has anybody noticed that the Pan-African Congress has land reform and that the ANC has state-owned enterprises under the office of the president along with intelligence? Oh, what could possibly go wrong here? Munir Palapala is in charge of state-owned enterprises. Oh, dear God. SOEs and then land. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Predictions for UK and French elections. I think that the leftists will successfully team up by dropping their third-party candidate and just fighting as one leftist party against the Conservatives, and they will win, and the Conservatives will come close but not take over in France. In the United Kingdom, the Tory party is dead and buried. It is gone. If it gets anything more than 20%, I'll be astounded. Rishi Sunak is the worst thing since Liz Truss, is the worst thing since Theresa May, is the worst thing since John Major. The Tories have a succession of useless, ineffectual, wet tissue prime ministers. They pick the worst people to be their prime ministers. Just like all the Germans who were killed because of Hitler, a lot of innocent Germans were killed because of Hitler. I talk about it, PK, all the time. In fact, it isn't no one. I've talked about it many times, and I'm not the only one. Vast studies, A Terrible Revenge, a book by Alfred Zayas. Let me say Terrible Revenge. That's a brilliant book talking about the harm that befell the German refugees who had to flee the Soviets and the communists and the Poles who were gang raping girls and old elderly women. So A Terrible Revenge. Yes. Terrible Revenge. Yep. Ethnic Cleansing of East European Germans, 1944 to 1950. A book by Alfred Maurice de Zayas. A brilliant book. I read this many, many years ago. He's a former research fellow at the MPG in Heidelberg. Work is based on a collection of testimonies from German citizens and Wehrmacht military personnel devoted to the expulsion of Germans after World War II from states previously occupied by Germany. This is Nazi Germany, but that's not true. These are places where ethnic Germans lived. So, utter nonsense. Yeah, it was a brilliant book. Just trying to find, this doesn't really give me any more information. The book originated as a script for a television documentary by Bavarian Broadcasting. It was a popular rendition of the author's monography on the expulsions called The Nemesis at Potsdam. A short introduction to this subject was published in German as Anmerkungen zur Vertreibung der Deutschen aus dem Osten. First printed in English. Anyway, the new 1994 English title included then Ethnic Cleansing, used at the time in relation to the crimes committed. Yep, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah, no, it's a brilliant book and fantastic. Yeah, the story of ethnic Germans who found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some 2 million, actually it's 4 million died, and 15 million were displaced from their lands by those opposed to anyone and everything German. Desires' moving plea is that one's home should be a human right. As frontiers shift once more in Eastern Europe, families flee in Bosnia, he could hardly have chosen a better mode to deliver it. Yeah, it's a brilliant, brilliant book. Anyway, so yeah, it isn't no one talks about it. I've talked about it extensively. Yep. Kaliningrad is not Kaliningrad, but Königsberg. Yep. What about the SNP with the Spectrum National Party, Zelda, or the Scottish National Party? What else? John has become the chief garden boy. Jordan Hill Lewis must have listened in because he was on this morning pointing out the grab of intel by the presidency. Well, maybe he did, but I've been talking about it forever. By the way, I met Jordan Hill Lewis at James Self's memorial service at Kirschenbosch Botanical Gardens when I was there a few weeks ago. So if the government lasts as long as cabbage, make sure the Germans in South Africa don't give them a recipe for sauerkraut. ANC deputy ministers in all portfolios. Yep, the idea of the PAC and land reform has been freaking me out. So many people don't get it and think Steenhuisen's in control of it. No, he's not. He's not. They're idiots. They don't know that. Do you think Reform UK could actually become made up? Yes, actually, I think Reform UK could actually win the elections. Which presidential candidate from the U.S. will be best for USA? Donald Trump. Gauteng is heading the same direction. ANC at 36%, but no, they're at 34.5% and wanting 50% of provisional government. Yep. Expropriation without compensation, ANC's version of Soviet collectivizations. John says, honest outlook, Colonel. Will this next 5 years see any change in government, or is it just the same nonsense? There's going to be some crazy stuff. David Chernovat said, what was the point? Good question. John is planting cabbages. Redistricting can't be done forever, and the USA and South Africa will eventually become useless. Gerrymandering, I think it's called. Redistricting is called gerrymandering. It's named after someone named Jerry. What radio station are you on, Chris? Share a link, please. I'm on WMPO. WMPO.live, but it is... No, sorry, that's not... Sorry, that's not right. It's WSMN, sorry. WSMN. I was on WMPO 40 years ago. WSMN. Senior moment there. WSMN.live. That is WSMN. So that is Southern New Hampshire. Yep. WSMN. So let me put that. You can catch me there. But the problem is you have to find the show into the archives, or you can tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, which unfortunately for South Africans is 1 a.m. Yep. Common Sense Conservatives every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Germans were not involved in the whole Hitler thing, were exterminated because they spoke German. 20 million people, they were raped and put in camps. No, it wasn't 20 million people, PK. It was not 20 million people. It was 4 million. I am a subject matter expert in the Verteilung. I am an expert in that subject. I've been researching it for over 30 years. I have been to the Sudetenland. I have been to Transylvania, Siebenburgen. I have been to Schlesien. I have been to these places, and I have been doing it in person and also as an academic and researching this for many years. The number is 4 million. It's frightening. And the crimes against humanity were committed by the Red Army. They would also have spoken to survivors of this. The Red Army would strafe refugee columns, murdering people with aircraft, dropping bombs on them. These are civilians fleeing. They also sank the Wilhelm Gustloff, which is the greatest maritime tragedy in the history of humanity. 15,000 people died in the freezing waters of the Baltic. Let me just look up the Wilhelm Gustloff there, and we'll talk about that. Wilhelm Gustloff. Wilhelm Gustloff. There you go. The MV Wilhelm Gustloff was a German military transport ship. It was a cruise liner, became a hospital ship. So it was sunk on January 30th, 1945 by the Soviet submarine S-13 in the Baltic while evacuating civilians. There were some military personnel, but it was evacuating civilians from the German-occupied Baltic states. German military personnel from Gauteng, by one estimate, 9,400 people died. Another estimate, 15,000 people died. Originally constructed as a cruise ship by the Nazis, strength through Joy, Kraft durch Freude. In 1937, it was requisitioned by the Kriegsmarine in 1939, served as a hospital ship, and then assigned as a floating barracks for naval personnel. Yep. So hang on a second here. So it was Operation Hannibal's a naval evacuation of German troops, civilians from East Prussia and the Baltic states as the Red Army moved west. The Wilhelm Gustloff's final voyage was to evacuate civilians, German military personnel and technicians from Kurland in East Prussia and Danzig. Many had worked at advanced weapons bases from both. Most of them were civilians. You see, they just try to mislead people with that. So they're saying 9,000. Total of 10,582 passengers and crew. 8,956 civilians. Passengers besides civilians, including Gestapo personnel. See, they always focus on that. But 8,956 civilians were on board this thing. It was sighted by the Soviet submarine under the command of Alexander Marinsko, and they targeted the frozen waters. At 9 p.m., he ordered his crew to launch 4 torpedoes at the port side, 30 kilometers offshore. The 3 torpedoes were fired successfully. All struck her on her port side. The first struck the ship's bow, causing watertight doors to seal off the area where off-duty crew members were sleeping. The second hit the accommodations for Women's Naval Auxiliary located in the ship's drained swimming pool and dislodged the pool tiles at high velocity, caused high casualties. Only 3 of the 373 women quartered there survived. The third torpedo scored a direct hit in the engine room located amidships, disabling all power and communications. Reportedly, only 9 lifeboats could be lowered. The rest had frozen in their davits and had to be broken free. About 20 minutes after the torpedo's impact, it suddenly listed so dramatically to port that the lifeboats lowered on the high starboard side crashed in the ship's tilting side, destroying many lifeboats and spilling their occupants. Many deaths were caused either directly by the torpedoes or drowning in the onrushing water. Some fatalities were due to the initial stampede caused by panicked passengers. Many passengers jumped into the icy Baltic. The water temperature in late January is usually about 39 degrees Fahrenheit. This was a particularly cold night with an air temperature of minus 10 degrees and ice floes covering the surface. The majority of those who died succumbed to exposure in the freezing water. Less than 40 minutes after being struck, the Wilhelm Gustloff was lying on her side. She sank bow first 10 minutes later in 44 meters of water. German forces were able to rescue 1,252 people. The torpedo boat T-36 rescued 564, the torpedo boat Löwe 472, the minesweeper M387 98, the minesweeper M375 43, the minesweeper M341 37, the steamer Göttingen 28, the torpedo recovery boat TF-19 7, the freighter Gotland 2, and a patrol boat V-173, a baby. 13 of the survivors later died. All 4 captains on Wilhelm Gustloff's survivor sinking. An official inquiry was initiated only against Lieutenant Commander Zahn. His degree of responsibility was never resolved because Nazi Germany collapsed. 9,343 men, women, and children died. Although they claim that 9,600 actually died. Jeez. Wow. Unbelievable. In 1960, Marenchenko was reinstated as a captain third class and granted a full pension. That's the man who sunk the ship. In 63, he was given a traditional ceremony due a captain upon a successful return from a mission. He died 3 weeks later at the age of 50 from cancer. Good. He was posthumously named a hero of the Soviet Union in 1990 by Mikhail Gorbachev for murdering 9,600 civilians. Wow. Wow. No, you're not wrong to think 4 million people is horrible. It's not 20 million. I'm just stating the facts here. Okay? All right. So, okay, there's a document. Can't remember the name. We'll go look for it. Okay. Just because different percentage of the population, not all people are bad. Yep. What do you think it will take for people to shift to a newer party like the UIM? Action to say maybe whereby they get large numbers. Total collapse. People, what more do you need? No electricity, no water, rape, murder, domestic terrorism, cash in transit heist, collapsing infrastructure. What more does it take? People aren't going to do it. They aren't going to do it until they suffer immensely. I said, thanks for the great show. You're welcome. So 3 to 6 minutes survival time. It says cold waters. The initial shock didn't cause heart failure, instant cramps. Exactly, Keith. Exactly. What a horrible way to go. Andre said, just got here. Not sure how the conversation got to World War II. Because somebody asked about it. Somebody asked about it, Andre. Yep. We encountered Lesufi Panyaza militias on the road to Gauteng a few days ago. There are nothing but ANC militia trained in defunct military facilities. Exactly right. Bomber Harris, yeah, they put a statue up to him. Yep, that's a man who murdered thousands of German civilians. The firebombing, you know, people lose their minds over what's happening in Gaza. That pales comparison with the Soviets, with the Nazis, and what the British and Americans did during the Second World War, murdering civilians by the hundreds of thousands. Talking about the people who were subject to the Russians and American forces, there were many civilians who suffered the consequences of their leader's decision even when they did not agree. Well, yeah, and people in South Africa are suffering because a 34% party is now in charge in Gauteng. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. I do appreciate it. Look, I can talk all day about ethnic Germans in Siebenbürgen, in Transylvania, in South Africa, in Namibia. My ethnic German interest began as a kid when I had a fascination with the Germans, only later to find out that I had German heritage, and among others. And then extended to Namibia, because Namibia was a fascinating story. When I was an undergraduate at Ohio University, my first time around, or my second time around too, the Alden Library, the main library on campus, had an incredible collection of periodicals, and they had the original periodicals because they had subscribed to all these things around the world, and they had magazines from German Southwest Africa, Deutsche Südwestafrika. And I spoke German, and I was taking German classes, and I was doing research on ethnic German, so I would go there, and I'd pull them up, and I still remember, you know, all of the wool that used to be so big. What's the name of the wool there in Namibia? They don't do it anymore, but they used to sell that wool from the baby sheep. What more can they do? Nothing stops them now from attacking innocent people a step further. Just, yeah, gotcha. Dogbreaker says, I'm jealous of Colonel's knowledge. Well, I am jealous of your vampire-like username, Dogbreaker. David Chernavad, read any books from David Irving? I found Churchill's War very fascinating. No, I don't think I know that author. Yep. Yeah, so, look, I mean, it's... so, German Southwest Africa. what is the name of that sheep? God bless, I'm drawing a blank here. Lots of senior moments of late. This is a scary thought. Namibia, the wool. What is the name of that stuff? I don't want Woolworths. I want the wool. Caracal. Thank you, Garrett. Caracal. That's it, the caracal wool. Yep, because it comes from Central Asia. It's not from Africa. Caracal sheep. Yep. It used to be a major enterprise in Namibia, but they've destroyed it. Known for its hardiness and ability to thrive under adverse conditions. Yep, it's this ability that allows the caracal to survive in the southern regions of Namibia with scant, mostly desert vegetation. One of the oldest breeds of domesticated sheep. Yep, used to be raised in much larger numbers, and they used them for pelts. Used to sell those pelts. Yep. It may have been domesticated as early as 1400 BC. That's crazy. Small stock farming in southern Namibia dates back more than 1,000 years. Yep, Germany first imported caracal sheep from Central Asia in 1903. 4 years later, the first consignment of 12 sheep arrived in colonial German Southwest Africa. A second consignment of 23 rams and 251 ewes arrived in 1909, and the young industry gained serious traction in southern farming regions. Yep, quality pelts. Yep. The breed's name has been changed to Swakara for Southwest Africa caracal. Yep, the 60s and 70s were the golden years for caracal farming. By 1970, nearly 40% of the 4.4 million sheep in Namibia were caracal. In 1979, they exported 5 million pelts to Europe. But that changed during the 1980s. The global anti-cruelty campaigns began. International market for pelts collapsed immediately, and they switched from caracal to Dorper and converted from pelt to mutton producers to mutton alone. In 2004, for example, only 8% of all sheep and 4% of small stock in Namibia were caracal. Wow. Dorper sheep now account for more than 80% of all sheep. They've made a comeback since the collapse in the 80s, but they're still not around. There are about 250,000 of them in Namibia. Yep, only 140,000 pelts per year. There you go. That used to be major stuff. So anyway, I was undergraduate. They had fantastic publications from German Southwest Africa, lots of books on it, published in German, and so I studied a lot. Thank you for creating awareness for a situation. You're very welcome, Gary. It's my pleasure. Aren't those black-headed sheep called Dorpers? Yes, I think they are. Yep, that's the ones, black-headed ones. Yep. All right. Yeah. You're very welcome, Gary. It's my pleasure to tell people about what's going on. That was a massive industry for decades in Namibia. And the pelts were gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, especially the black ones. Oh, man, absolutely gorgeous from the caracal sheep. But alas, the animal rights activists, the zealots, destroyed an industry and put people out of work. Yeah. So Namibia was big for that. It was big also for uranium. You're welcome, Garrett. It's my pleasure. Anyway, David Irving might have evidence that disproves the slaughter of millions during the rule of the Third Reich, but he hasn't convinced most. Yeah, I don't know about that. I can tell you that the Nazi regime used slave labor from all over Europe, from France, from the Netherlands, and not just Jews, and not just communists, but just regular people too. But then the Soviets got away with the same thing after the war. They shipped over 250,000 ethnic Germans from Romania to the Caucasus, to the gulags in the Arctic, and only about 100,000 came back. They did the same thing to the Germans all over Europe, and also to Poles, shipped them off to be slave labor. It's unbelievable, because so many of their own people killed. They killed so many of their own people, plus they were killed during the war by the Nazis and the Wehrmacht. So anyway, all right, 105 likes, 150 people here, an hour and a half into this, and this was about Panyaza Lesufi. Well, we've had it. Let me do a summary here real quick. With 4 parties in a coalition, a minority government led by the African National Congress with 34.76% of the popular vote, followed next by the Patriotic Alliance, which pulled down 2.03%. then Rise Mzansi with 0.98%, and then the IFP with 0.87%, for a total of 38.64% of the total vote in the province. The ANC's decided to go it alone, and all it will take is for the EFF, the MK, and the DA to decide to vote against the ANC, and Panyaza Lesufi is done for. A vote of no confidence. Yep, just like the mink in Denmark. Yeah, those idiots there. But that's just happened during the COVID scam. That's when that happened. They decided to put them out of business. The wealthiest mink business in the world is in Denmark, and they've just destroyed it. Yep. But they destroyed it because of COVID, not because of the environmental activists or the animal rights clowns. Merino sheep ran out of data. Sorry, Charles. What about merino sheep? Yep. Latecomers do watch from the beginning. The people suffer, the leaders always. The leaders don't pay for anything the people pay. Well, that's true. That's true. As I did in the earlier broadcast, the Federal Reserve giving banks 5.4% interest by keeping money out of the economy so that we can't borrow money for expanding our homes, for expanding our businesses, for buying cars, for buying homes. By keeping that money out of the economy and keeping interest rates artificially high to drive down demand and to force us to starve and be hungry, the Federal Reserve has impoverished Americans while banks have gone fat and rich off of the 5.4% dividend that they're getting by parking their money in the Federal Reserve, giving to them basically a money market account at 5.4%, $400 billion in interest paid out in the last 2 years. $400 billion. That's why are we paying 5.4% to banks to hide money from consumers? Let the market decide. This is not capitalism. Every time some idiot like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or the EFF or some fool in Europe or someone in the Democratic Party rails against capitalism, they are liars, because this is not capitalism. This is cronyism, and it's harmful. Anyway, there you go. There you go. There's hope things can change. Yes, there is, Debbie. Otherwise, I would have given up. All right, folks, that's going to do it. I've got to go try to get an appointment for my car and then come back here and do my radio show tonight. Yep, we kid ourselves when we think the government works for us. We work for them. Yep. Caracal sheep. Yes, Charles. We talked about that already. All right, be sure to hit the like button. We got 108 likes, 141 people still here. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. And there you have it. There is the minority government of Gauteng, a government that will not last very long. I guarantee that. Y'all take care. Be safe out there. Thanks for tuning in. Don't take any wood nickels because they're not going to do anything for you. You're welcome for my pleasure bringing you current events. I do the best I can, and hopefully people will watch the content. God bless. Be good. See you tomorrow. And we got a lot of rugby this weekend. 6 games, I think I'm calling. 3 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. Cheers, everybody. And why didn't you comment tonight? You're welcome to comment. You're more than welcome to comment. And I don't have a problem with you commenting as long as you're truthful. But you're welcome to comment. And thank you for being here. Thank you for attending. Johanna says, hope, unfortunately, not a strategy. Hang in there. No, that's what I always say. Yep, hope is not a strategy. That's the military. It's not a planning factor. Yep. Anyway, so thanks for being here, N, and thanks for. By the way, why don't you change your username from N to something else? Because maybe you can just go with Neiman. There you go, and go with Neiman. That way, I know you're nobody, and so because you're not giving away who you are. But the N is just it raises a lot of eyebrows. All right, folks, thanks a lot. We'll catch you later. Cheers. Peace out.